Okay, hi everyone. So I'm SmithyQ, and I'm back now with the fourth installment of our series on opening principles and opening traps. And today we're going to cover a classic, the Albin Counter-gambit. White is unfortunately blundering here with e3. Now before I jump in any further, I'm hoping at this point the following trap, again, it's not going to be a surprise. You're already seeing some of the seeds of the tactical destruction that awaits. Because this is now the fourth example I've shown here where there's been an early exchange of center pawns, and there's going to be some sort of d takes e3 or d takes e6, like we saw in some others, in which the queens are going to be staring at each other. Because we have seen three prior examples where one side was able to win the opponent's queen after this sort of tension in the center. So that'll be a little bit of foreshadowing for what comes next. But again, if we look at this through the eyes of opening principles, our general principles, we can see that black has free and easy development for all of his pieces. Just imagine that's a better arrow. I guess, okay, technically this knight would love to go to f6, but it can't. But again, in general, black has free, easy development, certainly for most of his pieces. Also, this pawn is really annoying for white. And then we can look at it from white's perspective as well. So far, it's been 4 moves. White's made nothing but pawn moves. Okay? And then second, we can see that his pieces, they're staring at his own pawns, or they can't really go to their most natural best squares. So it's sure nice that white's up a pawn, because otherwise he's cramped and his pieces can't move very much. Now you might argue that, hey, Smithy, black has made nothing but pawn moves as well, which is true. But it is black to move. Bishop b4 check. Now the game depends on how greedy white wants to be. It's fully possible, and desirable, to block with the knight. It's a little bit ugly though, because after take, our pawn structure is absolutely shattered. And most white players, of course, don't want that to happen. We block with the bishop. With the idea, of course, is that after an exchange, and then an exchange, well, we don't have worse pawns, we've got a space advantage, we've exchanged some pieces, and we're still at material. This is the opposite of a trap. No, if there's a trap, there has to be something clever. And here it is. Taking the pawn. And hopefully at this point, again, that tactical theme that I've been building for several videos now is becoming a bit clearer. We can't take this because of the pin. This is white's last chance to bail out and accept the terrible pawn structure. What happens if white takes? Well, again, hopefully we can see the queens are eyeing each other. The only defender of the queen is the king. And so if we can distract the king away, well, we're going to win the queen. So this move makes a lot of sense. Again, white's not going to take. You lose the queen. Okay. King e2. All right, what do we do next? It might be really tempting to play some bishop g4 with a skewer, but the knight can block it. And so, okay, and then let's not do that. I said we're not going to cover this move. It might also be really tempting to take here and make a queen, but then, again, after an exchange and then captures, well, material is actually equal. Not only is it equal, white has a lead in development already. Okay, maybe the rook isn't, the best developed piece, but, still, black has absolutely nothing so far. Let's back up. So the winning move after takes king e2, it's not a queen, it's actually a knight. We're going to turn this piece into a black knight. This is probably the earliest example of an under promotion you'll ever see in chess, and it's completely winning. After captures, now bishop g4 check. There's no knight to interpose. We win the queen, and that's game. Isn't that great? All the factors played in. This annoying pawn was able to march all the way down here. White's bishops were able to jump out with huge big checks, using that free and easy development. And that central pawn tension, it was finally resolved, and, well, the queen, for the 4th time now, got lost. So this is where, again, I'm trying to emphasize how learning these themes, learning these ideas, They apply beyond just these one individual traps that I'm showing, but they're going to apply across multiple different positions, which is why learning themes and learning principles is so useful. Now that said, we should probably back up. And so we're white, we're in this position. How do we avoid this trap? In my opinion, this is one of the better traps because e3 is such a natural move, trying to exchange pawns, and again, if black were to take, like this is just an absolutely dream position for white. I mean, like you're probably winning already. But again, this is one of those times when you need to realize that this is another pawn move. And it's a pawn move wherein our king is exposed to checks. King safety is an extremely important part, of chess in general, including of the opening. And if we were to think about developing our pieces, with knight f3 and maybe some g3, bishop g2, castle this way as fast as possible, we'll be okay. But that said, we could even go back even further. Because, strictly speaking, the Queen's Gambit move with c4, it's not helping developing a piece. This doesn't count. Queen goes to a4. And it's not helping us castle any sooner. And the only reason it's a good move is because it's helping fight for the center. It's trying to trade off the pawns, eventually play e3 or e4. We dominate the center. Basically, all the traps that I've shared so far involve a very early e5 from black or from white. And so it's fully possible that if you play knight f3, you're stopping a lot of tactical tricks. You're again, c4, e5. This is the whole move that makes the Albin Gambit. If you play knight f3 first, knight f6, and then c4, you completely sidestep this. Same thing. We looked at the Budapest Gambit, which involves, after knight f6, c4, e5. Well, if you were to play knight f3 first, and then you're going to play c4 later, you bypass this. Now, maybe that's kind of a cop-out from me, but it is an example of where we need to make sure we really understand why we're making the moves that we're making. A lot of people in this position are just playing c4 100% because it's a book move, and they're not able to justify it via the opening principles, the way that I've been trying to discuss through all these videos. Why do we play c4 when it doesn't develop a piece and it's not helping us get our king castled, right? And so you need to make sure that you can always understand the moves that you're playing, and if you don't, well then defaulting to opening principles, simply developing, is usually a pretty good strategy. So hope that helps, hope that was useful, and I've got a couple more of these sorts of videos. We're going to finally move beyond this type of queen trap. I think I've exhausted all of them, and we're going to start moving on to some other ones, including starting with e4 from white, so look forward to that in the next video to come. Otherwise, I'm Smithy Q. Do the YouTube stuff. That'd be fantastic. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.